Hey there, brave hearts, urbanites, and Coach Mad Hatters. And greetings and salutations to my mahogany ancestors, gods and goddesses of divine trifecta and intervention. We have joined along this journey to heartfulness. So please ignite and activate our clarity plus our curiosity so that we may know the truth by the way that it feels, especially as it resonates with our highest good of uniqueness and wholehearted individuality. I thank you kindly for my tender transparency and authentic expression during these moments. Please tune me into the frequency of your heart feelings so that I may sense the clues and cues needed to accurately interpret this amazingly phenomenal bigger picture as it connects our 6 degrees of story, community closeness, and divine timing. Thank you again, my love team. The Coach Mad Hatter's Underland University and Radio Coaching Conclave is now in session. It is so nice that you have joined me again. And so today we are going to go over days 4 and 5 of this particular journey. And I'll give you backdrop to why I am combining the two. Yesterday I was under such perplexity that I just could not get this segment recorded. I did go into um, a recording for the Seago Squad, and so I was able to get that posted. And so, any of my fellow Capricorns, or wherever you have Saturn somewhere placed in your chart, if you are interested, even the slightest, please go check it out. And remember, when we are talking about sea goat, we're also talking about SEE, capital G, capital O, capital A, capital T. And we are on a quest to see the greatest of all times, especially with regards to this epoch and all of the greatness that is here to be captured. Also, while it is on my mind, I am changing the name of this journey. And so it is now called the 90-Day Journey by Heart. Because ultimately, we are focusing on the things that can be done by heart. Mindfulness is wonderful and it's cool and it's very much important to our evolution and our maturity, but so is the heart chakra, all of the energy that is centered there, and how we could best utilize it for the greatest of all good. Yes? We are remaining to stay focused on our astro alchemical wisdom so that we can make the best of this Shiro Hero's journey, this fool's journey, this journey into the center of the heart. This particular installment is themed, This is What I Want. With Saturn now being fully direct, I spoke quite a bit um, in the Seago Squad session about Saturn's presence being so heavy when I came into consciousness this morning, and all that took place during my meditation. And it was incredible, very much so. Um, the depiction of phenomenal, to say the least. I have a quote that is considered the Coach Mad Hatter's manifesto, and it is as follows. When butterfly effective efforts meet serendipitous intentions, you'll experience the phenomena of golden chaos and organized noise. Yesterday, I truly was in the midst of a golden chaotic moment, and I had to organize my noise. Saturn going direct. I knew was going to affect me differently. I just wasn't sure how. And it's still a bit tickling at all that I was contending with yesterday. And most of my agitation was coming from being a witness to much of the virtual world commentary surrounding Saturn going direct and how apprehensive, worried, the tone of the commentary was taken. It's, ooh, like, beware, Saturn's now going direct. You're going to get it. And I giggle because, I mean, that's not to say that we're not going to get it, but why does it have to be that for everyone? And that's the part that I am begging to differ. I don't think that it's going to be this harsh nature all the way around the board. My agitation came because I have yet to, no, that's not true. One, I have one piece of commentary that was able to neutralize the tone and give it some enlightenment. And I am uh, tapped in. I check for um, all sorts of astrological driven data through a meridian of sources. So to not see Saturn depicted in any kind of fairness struck me kind of odd. The notes that I'm going to go over right now were written 3 days prior. So it doesn't truly depict my agitation, which I think is a good thing, to tell you the truth. And I think it's a good thing that I did not record uh, Day 4 because I'm not sure if the public domain is ready for that. I'm really not. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But in process to organize my noise, I bumped into some notes that I pulled from helping um, one of my younger cousins this time last year, roughly around this time last year. Notes was taken October 23rd, 2018. And he had to do a book report on Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Aldous. Copyright 1932, and again reprinted in 1946. Now just let those dates marinate for a little while. 1932, 1946. All surrounded around genetic engineering, psychological and emotional conditioning. And the very first note that I put on here with regards to, okay, so let me say this. The book report was broken down into two arguments. So with regards to argument one, I have on here individualism slash imagination in exchange for sexual pleasure and social servitude, submission to a master, forced labor, and a right that grants use of another's property. The objective was they had to answer, where do I see myself within this story? I was so happy to have bumped into this. And it was amazing the way that I bumped into it because in a frenzy, one thing about me is when certain agitation comes over me, I do have to begin to um, spread out, if you will, spread out my focus. Um, and not necessarily a distraction because I've gotten better with that. So I will put in an inquiry into my inner spaces and say, okay, help me mellow this out. Help me be able to use this that's going on inside of me and transmute it and funnel it so that it can be of a somewhat productive and safe nature out here. But I know I have to purge it in some kind of way. And it's quite magical when I do like provoke such inquiry because instantly it's almost like another being comes in and takes over my steps. So I went in without even thinking, went into the closet, got this, I have like this bright yellow burlap bag that has all sorts of old notes in it. And so I just pulled it out and just started flipping through it. And actually found some good content that is going to carry me in for another 3 weeks that I had completely forgotten all about. Hence this here, this lovely bundle of info. Because I had even forgotten that I even helped him with this. So it was good. Uh, Mainly because when I was taking my own separate notes, I really wasn't sure what I was taking them for. I am an avid note taker, so it didn't strike me as strange, but it did pop up during, especially when the notes became like too elaborate. It was like, what am I taking this for? What am I using it? What am I going to use this for? If you have not been introduced to Brave New World, the audiobook is on YouTube. Please go search it. If you are inside the interest of social engineering, the fundamentals and developments of social strata, class, categories, creeds, cultures, masterminding, group thought, propaganda, mainstream media, if you're interested in any of it, especially with regards to wanting to have a better understanding of what goes on underneath the forest bed. And I will suggest this: approach the book in metaphorical terms. See how that fits to you. If you're not good with metaphorical terms, you, I'm not going to say you'll be lost, because there are all kinds of quality readers out there. But it may do uh, this segment, it may do the absorption of this segment. Um, well, I can't even say that, to tell you the truth. My perception. How about that? So it may do me and you some good with regards to aligning within the same fierce of perception, so that we may, if my rambling lose you, remain on the same page or within the same context. Definitely as it regards to the unraveling of my moment of frustration with where we are. Yesterday was full of reminders that we do not know the whole story, and that our neglection to digging into the realms of historical narrative are major pieces to the bigger picture that are missing. It's almost like 15, 20, 25% of the puzzle is missing in our refusal to go back, investigate it with a 21st century eye, dig into those old journals that will reveal certain nuances of the narrative. Compare and contrast. So much stuff is being glazed over because we're just missing some pieces. And I say often, if you think that the heirs of Freud, the heirs of Edward Bernays, the heirs of the pioneers of social engineering, I don't know who they are. But if you think that their legacy is not continuing on, and that now that we mainly dwell in this virtual space, which makes it much more easier, then you're more away from the main course than you might think. What dumped me into this golden chaotic eye was a clip that was sent by a friend that involved a staged conversation around voting and the upcoming election and the current presidency and this, that, and the third. Now, what makes it good is that because most of my friends, at least my close ones, know that I am not connected to the mainstream. I am such an underground, yeah, like I say, my focus is beneath the forest bed. So they will send me certain clips that will allow me to keep an ongoing or a progressive outlook on certain things, especially if it's within my area, if it's in conjunction with what it is that I am busy contending with. And it gave me the hunch that this is my opportunity to speak about it, seeing as that we are on this journey. Well, at least I am. And I'm just sharing. I'm on this journey by heart. And it doesn't take much to ruffle my feathers if I have to ponder politics. If I have to ponder politics when I do not know the full story. And so even though it was a conversation, it was a conversation amongst celebrities, which got me a little impatient from the giddy up. Because I'm just thinking like, okay, so why couldn't Uncle Thaddeus have been up there? Or, Aunt Agnes. Like, why do I need to hear from a celebrity when we aren't even of the same worlds? And even so, it's a fucking staged conversation. And when I mean staged conversation, meaning they are on stage with this enormous audience. Like, if anyone think that that was not probed, and even if it was semi-scripted, the fact that it was a bunch of celebrities up there just like automatically made it not for me. Because there are some individuals that don't take part in none of that, not interested in none of that. Like, real life really do go down for us. So, not taken away from the clip arriving to me, I'm still grateful because if it didn't do anything else, it confirmed that there's still so much shenanigans inside of mainstream that confirms why I stay disenchanted. So we're about to step into the timeline where all sorts of messages are going to be coming from out of the woodwork that's going to be pushing people to vote. And this is my prime time opportunity to speak on the issue of voting. And I will personally address the complexity of voting because our ancestors went through this, that, and the third so that we can do so. First and foremost, it's not the same political arena as it was with our ancestors when they were willing to die to do so. That's first off. And even to stretch it back beyond their time, we have to get down to the fundamentals, down to the nitty gritty of how this society was built, how it was contoured, how it was carved out, and what principles and platforms and procedures were carried over inside the mindsets that we like to deem founding fathers. And yeah, I'm being facetious with it. Saturn is now direct. I am a Capricorn sun. There's some things that just need addressing. It makes no sense to me to tell me that I gotta go vote if you're not going to tell me what it is that I'm voting on. And it really doesn't matter if I go research, investigate the candidate, because that's just a fucking symptom. Understanding the source by which I am voting into, that's what needs to be uncovered. That's what needs to be solidly comprehensible. The tiers of such complexity, aka American government, leads me to no firm understanding, overstanding of what this is all about. Those that step into the political arena and actually have the truth, the raw, unedited, historical truth about the founding, the foundation, the financing, the fundamentals of this quote unquote starship. Those are the ones that should be voting. And this is just my honest opinion. This is my honest, rigid opinion. It's mine. It's mine to have. I'm owning it. I feel the same way with me walking into a conversation that has already been going on for a half an hour. And somebody try to drag me in and ask me about something. Unless you're going to pause it and catch me up so that I can solidly give what you're truly looking for, which is my authentic opinion. Will I even engage you in being part of that conversation? I can't be part of that conversation. How can I possibly be part of that conversation? How can I possibly vote on the elephant if I am one of the blind men that can only see the trunk or the tail or the front leg or the hind leg? I have yet to have ever, especially within my cultural denomination, have had a zoomed out lens to be able to see the entire elephant. I need the bigger picture. If you want me to vote on this, we need the bigger picture. And seeing as that the narrative have been reversed and reversed and reversed and remixed and refined, re-edited, erased, burned at the stake to rise from its ashes and then re-edited again. And the only one that has track of all of that history so they can truly understand what the fuck it is they voting on. American politics is so fucking messy. We haven't even gotten down to the nitty gritty of who's an American and who's a citizen. We haven't even broken down to be able to give solid, honest comprehension to what it truly means with regards to the United States of America. And I know I'm using um, fishhook language, so they might flag it or do whatever it is they're going to do with it. Makes me know, never mind. Yesterday, I contended with all sorts of slaps in the face that we do not know what we should know. And everything we've learned, we need to unlearn. And we are so emotionally invested in fucking lies. We don't know the rooter from the tutor. And we figure we doing something. The story has been reversed and remixed, and I think I just said that, but it's worth repeating. It's been fucking remastered. And we don't own copyright to none of this shit. Like, we have no access to the original documents. We don't get invited to the table. We are not in the room when the original shit is being discussed. You get the public version. There's also a private version. There's an origination version. The version with the wet ink on it. Yeah, that version. So, argument number one, individualism slash imagination in exchange for sexual pleasure and social servitude. And it really is. And it's still, remember, 1932 is when this was written, and it's still like the primary focal point, sex and money. The lower quality of life is about sex and money. That's the primary focal points, sex and money. You give me folks that could honestly, comfortably talk without entering into those two arenas, and I'll show you somebody very special and somebody very innovative and ingenious. Their ingenuity does not depend on either one of those. Yes, honey. You got you somebody worth listening to. Because I said it and I'll say it again. When we take our focus off of something, it withers and it dies. If you feed it, it will grow. And that is in conjunction with your time and attention. Now, if you're going to use your time and attention wisely, in my opinion, using it to investigate, dig down deep, using your powers and spirit of Sankofa to find out what's really good within the nuance of the narrative of yesterday. Because then you'll have a full understanding of how it's impacting today and set forth a sturdy honesty for tomorrow. Okay, so the dogs are in an uproar. So give me just a few minutes. Let me see if this dies down. This is such a distraction. Please stand by. All right, all right. We're back. We're back. So, the Brave New World. The Brave New World speaks about making people like their unescapable social destiny. For centuries, class and creed has been categorized in what is now known as estates. And so inside the story, they were talking about something called dystopia, which is the matured stature of ultra advanced, stratified society architects or architectures. Sorry, not the architects, but the structures themselves. Where the classes and categories of human interaction is being maliciously designed and fashioned. And so I even had the liberty of taking note of the pages. And so inside the dictionary, the traditional meaning for dystopia is an imaginary as a as a ma- an imaginary as a country of misery and wretchedness. There is a on page 10 something called social predestination, and it talks about um, where you will be socially, where you will like ah, I you know I mm, I I'm at a loss for words. Wait a minute, just one moment. Give me a moment. It's very important. It is very important that we understand and observe our conditioning of social allure. So somewhere around page 21, there is an instance where the kids are, um, and I'm going off the top of my memory from my involvement in it with from last year. So it's kind of choppy. The story itself, I haven't visited with it in over a year. But the there's this group of students, and they are being trained to be social engineers, and their social predestination is of the most highest um, estate, the most highest class. They are considered the Alpha Plus. And so these students are being taken through a facility and they get to a nursery. And so um, it is said that the children inside the nursery are exposed to books and flowers and all sorts of other uh, blissful and delightful things. But then they are also um, they are also met with random loud noises and electrical soft but still electrical shocks all the same. And it's done for 200 repetitions. 200 repetitions of these random loud noises and electric shocks so that it fucks with their concentration and it does not allow them to completely bond to their association with the books or the flowers or all the things nice. The seemingly random infusions of both trains them for a certain type of consequence. And somewhere within that book, somewhere, like I said, around page 21 or so, it says, what man has joined, nature is powerless to put asunder. Meaning that the repetition of urban hassles like sirens, and I'm telling you, them sirens do a number on you. There is makes absolutely no reason why a siren has to go blazing through the streets of DC at 3 a.m. in the morning. There's just no reason for it. It is dark enough in the atmosphere that just the flashing lights will allow folks to know that it's coming or it's in the vicinity or something of that. And I know that it's not necessary because I have a fireman in the family. And there is this certain thing that's called a noise curfew. And it is enacted inside of the more affluent uh, nooks of the district. And you want to tell me to vote? You want to tell me to vote, but we can't even get down to the bottom of the social engineering of urban hassles as if it's not a thing. We must begin to connect the dots. And we must begin to not allow the conversation to veer off somewhere or we unwittingly be given this implied consent or somehow pressured into doing this absence the onus of full disclosure. And that's the reason why individuality is a no no. And anything that would be remotely considered innovative emotional architecture. Somewhere around page 94. When the individual feels, the community reels. This notion has been impressed upon every individual from birth. Within their social stratosphere, their communal conjunction, they figured freedom to be a round peg in a square hole. That's the reason why we have trends. That's the reason why we have think tanks. That's the reason why we have all of this ultra social activity. That's the reason why the dining out campaign an is in an on an all-time high. Somewhere around, and I'm all over the place as far as the pages because I'm going in rhythm of context. So somewhere on page 35, it's quoted. That's why you're not taught any history. That's why you are not taught any history. And that's the quotes. I didn't jot down what which character said that, but it was somewhere within the announcement to the group of students who were being groomed to be the social engineers. In relation to the more lower level classes, that's why they are not taught any history. You're not taught any history because of this thing called moral integrity. I am just I know that this and like I said before in maybe in the last installment or the one before that, I have no idea what emotions I'll be contending with as this thing go on. I've committed to 90 days, so it's no telling which version of me you gonna get. But it is all in light of tender transparency and that we still have to journey by heart. And the heart is full of tons of uncontented emotion. We love everything nice and tidy and predictable, and we love to be able to say that certain things are right and certain things are wrong. But oh my gosh, I really do trust in the ushering of this new energy, and what we are used to or what we thought was right is now being all turned on its fucking head. So, by removing the respect of historical identification and uniqueness, the social engineers are able to do their job, making people like their unescapable social destiny. A sense of dystopia is only upon those beyond the special effects of the genetic engineers and social architects. A sense of dystopia is only upon those beyond the special effects. I don't know, for some reason that doesn't sound right, but that's what I wrote. So I'll have to re-listen to this and see how it comes across to see if I can get it. I'm in a very interesting space right now, and I said it before, and I'll probably say it again before it's all over with. Okay, so there is this teacher that is teaching the social engineers, Mr. Watson, page 70, and he says, words can be like x-rays. If you use them properly, they'll go through anything. You read and you're pierced. He goes on to say, I try to teach my students how to write piercingly. The chief tool for conditioning is to write piercingly. Page 28, and I don't know how to pronounce this word, so I'm going to spell it. Hypnopaedia. Hypnopaedia, the greatest moralizing and socializing force of all time. Till at last the child's mind is the suggestions, and the sum of the suggestions is the child's mind. And not the child's mind only, the adult's mind too, all his life long. The mind that judges and desires and decides, made up of these suggestions. But all these suggestions are our suggestions! Exclamation mark. Suggestions from the state. The primary ideal for ensuring. Page 22. They'll grow up with what psychologists used to call an instinctive hatred of books and flowers. They'll be safe from books and botany all their lives. And that was the reason why they would expose the kids to all the delightful stuff, and then somewhere in there zap them, and then have these uncontrollable unpredictable noises when the noises would shock them up out of their sleep, and so they continued everything that was delightful to them was interrupted, was disrupted to the point where they, and remember, 200 repetitions. They went through this for 200 repetitions while they were young. So by the time they became older, they associated the disruptions of these outlandish noises and these shocks to their system with all the things that they delighted, so they stayed away from them. They stayed away from the books. They stayed away from the flowers. They did not become invested or curious, fabulously curious in botany, which is the things that come from the earth, the flora. I digress. I digress. Hmm. Um, so let me see. I'll just make mention. Yeah, so, okay, so on page 27, in quotes, alpha children wear gray. They work much harder than we do because they're so frightfully clever. I'm really awfully glad I'm a beta because I don't have to work so hard. And then we are much better than the gammas and the deltas. Stability is through repetition, biologically as well as psychologically. Then on page 106, they're perfectly tamed. Savages won't do you any harm. They've got enough experience of gas bombs to know that they mustn't play any tricks. And I really am just rushing through my notes because I'll honestly say this. Being exposed to that book left me speechless. I didn't even know such a thing was out there. And that's just one book. It's like being asked to vote about candidates that will be involved and engaged on a damn near lifelong basis inside of an entity you know nothing about. What are you voting on for real? And don't tell me no shit about you and you voting on a candidate to take the most prestigious and seemingly powerful seat of the nation. And you don't know a fucking thing about the nation. You have no idea about the mind crafting that you are asked to vote on. I'm going to tell you what I really think. And I promise you, I don't care if they take this down. It's census because they had to become clever with being able to pull demographical census. And no, it might not be as pinpointing as the back in the day census questionnaire, but because they were getting such low response ratings with them things, they still need to be able to count and measure certain elements within this social construct. And if they can guilt you into, shame you into showing up, then at least they can have uh, a rough estimate of certain things. Some numbers are better than no numbers. The feelings of an individual person has the powers to throw off the balance. It's the sole purpose of the Hatchery and Conditioning Center, the HCC, to engineer styles of life and work beneficial to the BNW as a Rubik squad whole. And the BNW is the Brave New World. And yeah, so I'm getting off of that because that was just, we already an hour in, and that shit is just draining to me. Um, when the staged conversations start talking about our situation as is linked to even a portion of that I just tried to struggle through. Now I just tried to struggle through it, and it's just me and a microphone and a recorder. I'd like to see humans tackle that. I like to see humans go into the nooks and crannies of our historical narratives and pull out all of the twists and turns that have been used to send us into these mental and emotional states of dystopia. How group thought and trends in mainstream is truly the assassination. The assassins. Oh yeah, the assassinations of individualism and imagination. How it is that from distraction to distraction to distraction, there's been weaved this incredible web of sexually heightened. Mm, I digress again. The beginning of the poem by Robert Herrick, Herrick, the poem to the virgins. And I truly believe it's a poem to the Virgos. And with us getting ready to dip out of Virgo season and go into Libra season, I am going to dedicate Libra season 2019 to gather ye rosebuds while ye can. While ye may is what the poem says, but I'm saying can. Yes, we can. And I say that without any type of endorsement to Barack Obama, even though I love Michelle. She's a fellow Capricorn, for Pete's sake. Gather ye rosebuds while ye can. Honor thy talent. Honor thy gifts and talent. I'll change it up and say that. You are ready to grow, and that requires a measure of risk, or at least spontaneity. As the punk rock poet Patti Smith, as a matter of fact, she's a punk rock poet laureate and a fellow Capricorn. Quote, I am constantly in a state of adjustment. End quote. And if we continue to avoid mistakes just for the sake of avoiding mistakes, we will constantly be stuck and small. On the bottom of the social totem pole is where we shall stay. And so I guess you can figure by now that Day 4, Day 5 installment is not for everyone. If it resonates, appreciate, we must begin to dig deeper. We must begin to dig deeper. And I have a lot more notes because I was going to combine 2 days, but I'm not. I'm going to split them up. And this will be installment for day number 4. And I'll try to get day number 5 recorded um, somewhere in between today and tomorrow, as we will be focusing only on Chiron and Aries. We're going to use my birth chart as an example and get into the grit. Get into the grit. See if we can pull up some better understanding about one's individuality and imagination. And honestly, like, I had not even connected the dots between all that I have been up here recording for the last 2 weeks and how it was going to tie into the the magnifying of how it's so quietly being kept, this anti individualism or anti imaginary state. We are only to be inside the ponderance of suggestions that the brave new world conjures up. Only the suggestions that have been socially engineered. And this is not a new thing. And this isn't even something that I read out of a book. I see it, and I see it again. To be able to read it in a book is what the remarkable part about it is, but I see it and I see it and I see it again. Yes, it does bring forth a certain type of invocation when you see it in print. And I do think I'm having another moment, especially seeing as that it's been brought back into my purview. But I'm having a moment just as I did when I read 1984, which was given to me by my baby sister, as well as The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Those type of stories rock my soul. And I often think about what the author went through just to bring that forward. And it always confirmed that it's so much out here that I have no clue about. How can I possibly vote on something that I have no clue about? And that's what we are like building momentum towards. And all your celebrities and all the people that you care about, knowing you ain't never met them before, just because they know how to get on the stage and drop it like it's hot, you love them. And they're going to get on their soapboxes and they're going to tell you to go vote. And the only thing that you're going to have to lean on and regurgitate is what they talking about or what's being talked about in these mainstream news realms, or what's being staged, what's being situated and conversed on stage through these highly polished talking points. Ain't there none of them politicians or candidates can you walk up to, or do you have in your contacts you can call and say, hey, I got some questions? And any of your questions, any of your directly connected questions, they ain't talk about that. They ain't answering none of that. They gonna get ushered into office whether you like it or not. It's all been socially engineered, but the stage play must go on. The curtain shall rise. So, in closing, I'll leave you with this. Witness yourself without judging. Applying the energy of time and attention only upon the stuff that truly matters. Only slow and deliberate builds a sturdy foundation. It is okay to rest and retreat. And I don't mean retreat like running away from something, but I mean retreat as in tranquility and serenity. Like go take a 2 hour ride somewhere and just hang out with Bay for a little while. Just the two of y'all. Go and walk Luray Caverns or some shit like that. It is time to balance and reconcile how you feel. Prepare to share and communicate how you love, how you trust, how you delight in destiny, and how you self study. Clarity is upon you, and your choices are necessary. Build the type of connections that will automatically reinforce your integrity to self, which will fill up your cup first, and then generously share all that runneth over. Check in with your feelings, synthesize them, harmonize them until they are joyful, organized noise. Don't quiet them or try to get rid of them. Synthesize them. I haven't met an instrument yet inside the symphony where the conductor had it dim down its sound. Just fine tune and play on key. Laughter is not only healing, but it is necessary. Be on the lookout for confirmation to your existence. Become clear about where you live, what you commit to, what you project, who you commit to. The energy is yours. Make peace about what has been so that what will be will have a chance. Inside the spaces of certain newness, some people, situations, circumstances will be naturally left behind, while some will naturally grow and cultivate. Begin your Fool's or your Shiro's journey today. Step 1. Legendary surges begin with heart energy. New language. I'll say it again. New language. Become open to transformation. Make only the choices that reflect your inner voice. And choose to walk instead of run. And while doing so, express with confidence and clarity. Well, all right, folks. That is the installment for day 4 as we continue on this 90-day journey by heart. And as I said earlier, I am going to keep them separate. So whenever you tune in, maybe installment for day 5 will be up. And yeah, so I'm getting ready to go and soothe my emotions and get that energy off me, so that I may wake up bright and early and ready for the next day. And so until next time, I wish you well.